Hi everyone, Tom Slivick. Welcome to TSPN's News for Today, and I'm happy to have Todd Riebe,
How's it going,
our
Tom?
district attorney. Good to see you, Todd. And Todd's going to try to pull us a little bit up to speed on Realignment 109, right? Mm-hmm. And it's had some. It seems to me, Todd, that in the news I've heard like it, hit some bumps with the panel. I guess we have Steinberg. Yeah, Steinberg asked the judges to give us some more time for the plan. I'm not exactly sure what all he asked for. Could you tell us that, and then maybe we'll take a break, and then we'll find out how we're doing and what's going on.
Briefly, how we got there.
Yes.
There were two lawsuits. Both the Coleman lawsuit was brought by inmates and inmate rights attorneys, claiming that there was deficient medical care in the California state prison system.
Right.
They determined yes, there was, and the cause of it was overcrowding. So the three-judge federal panel said, California, you have to reduce your prison population to 137.5% of design capacity. That meant tens of thousands of inmates had to reduce by tens of thousands. We are currently 8,600 short of meeting our goal. 8,600 inmates short of realizing our goal. We did ask for an extension, and we were granted an extension until January in order to make those further reductions. Steinberg and the legislature came up with a plan that would meet the three-judge panel's edict. Right. And it would avoid the early release of the 8,600 inmates by appropriating $315 million to lease in-state and out-of-state jail and private prison beds to comply with the three-judge panel's order. The people who would staff the private prisons would be CDCR, California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation employees. That got over one big hurdle. It allows the governor to ask for a delay in meeting the population cap, which we've done, and we got a delay. Not as long as we wanted, but we did get a delay until in late January. And the Coleman and Plata litigation proceeds. It doesn't settle it, so that's still out there. Any of the $315 million that is not spent on leasing short-term beds and the out-of-state jail and private prison beds goes towards a recidivism reduction fund, and it can be appropriated by the legislature to pay for recidivism-reducing programs. That's the plan that the state of California, that the legislature enacted. It does of great importance for prosecutors. We were very much opposed to the wholesale change of the sentencing statutes and creating a sentencing commission. That was not part of the legislation. So when that was removed, the prosecutors did support the legislative plan under the circumstances. It was a smart, I think, compromise to deal with the three-judge panel's edict.
Okay. Well, we're going to come back and find out a little bit about what that means and where we're at today, and some new additional news. I believe there's a study that came out from Stanford, and we're going to talk to our district attorney, Todd Riebe, about that when we return from this break. Stay with us.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Tom Slivick with District Attorney Todd Riebe. Todd, earlier, right before the break, you gave us a kind of a rundown on what's happened with the newest part in the law and where we find ourselves. And we also have, I guess you said, the Stanford criminal justice.
Right. This is an interesting law because of all the money that was spent, not one penny went to tracking any kind of statewide database as to how we're doing. Is the law a success? None of it. And that's, when your goal is to reduce recidivism, when you had a 70% recidivist rate under the former system prior to realignment, is this any better? Well, the only way you're going to be able to measure that is by comparing apples and apples and seeing, whether or not there are new violations of the law, violations of parole, violations of probation, within a specified period of time, and 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. And we don't have that statewide database. So the Stanford Criminal Justice Center, Joan Petrosilia, who is one of the architects of Realignment, she's a professor there, and a graduate student, sought to provide us with some data, some feedback from Realignment since it's been in effect. And they fanned out to 21 counties across the state. They interviewed 125 representatives in the criminal justice system, probation officers, judges, sheriffs, prosecutors, defense attorneys, police. What's going on with Realignment? Tell us, you're in the trenches. Tell us what's going on.
So the data was anecdotal.
It was anecdotal.
Okay.
And what they were getting was that from them is that, you know, the consensus was that this happened too fast. Realignment happened too fast. That the infrastructure, i.e. the jail spaces on the local levels, we have 30 counties that are overcrowded any given day that have overcrowded jails. The infrastructure was just not ready for this sea change in the way that we deal with the criminals in the system. And we went too far. The pendulum swung too far. We need to pull back a little. That was the consensus. Most of the people that she spoke with were cautiously optimistic. The state in California, right, the state of affairs is that we need to reduce the prison population by 8,600 more inmates. Petrosilia was greatly concerned that consequences couldn't be delivered in some counties because there's no room in the jails. For instance, you violate your parole or you violate your probation, there should be a consequence for doing that. But a lot of these violators, they're booked and they're released. Or if they do commit lower level felonies, they're not completing their entire sentence because there's no room. And that has a dramatic effect on recidivism and the criminal justice system. Several recommendations were made by Ms. Petrosilia to tinker with Realignment so that it can be successful.
Can I ask a question at this time? You might just ask how it was done. Was some of this weighted? In other words, like was maybe Los Angeles County, when they talked to the people there, was that given more weight because they have more population, or was it just like one-on-one, this is how you're looking at it?
I think they were looking at anecdotal data. They were also taking a look at crime rates. And one of the things that they found, so by weighting, yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, they're given the population of Los Angeles, they're going to have more offenders, and they have basically it's ground zero for Realignment is Los Angeles right now. It is taxing their system, overtaxing their system.
I guess so what I was saying there is like, in effect, there might be small counties like ourselves, next door, smaller counties, where they can probably watch it better. It seems to me from what I've talked, the people that I've talked to, it might possibly be working here much better than a large county.
Well, in their variety of, you're right, we don't have the sheer numbers that they have, number one. Number two, our community correctional partnership, which is composed statutorily of the sheriff, the chief probation officer, the DA, the public defender, police chief, mental health. We all get along in small county, and particularly here. We all play well in the sandbox together, and we've been able to come up with a plan and agree on how the money is to be spent. That's not the case in some of these larger communities where they've expanded the membership to include nonprofits, inmate rights groups, and there's a lot of bickering back and forth as to the nature of where that money should go. Should it go towards law enforcement for beefing up, being able to incarcerate, either through leasing arrangements with other counties that do have space in their jail for your inmates, so you don't have to release them early, or something of that nature? Or is it to go towards programs, counseling, homeless shelters, gift cards for inmates that perform well, things of job training, things of that nature. And that give and take in some counties is quite acrimonious. And there's been a lot of dysfunction in some of the communities. The larger communities are where you're seeing that happen.
Okay, we're going to take a break, then we'll come back and pick it up where we left off. So stay with us right here on TSPN.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.